Delegates, be respectful.
In August of 2008, over 100 college presidents across the country, including those esteemed colleges like Dartmouth, Kenyon, Yale, Duke, Ohio State, and Syracuse, called for a decrease in drinking age. They made their case on the grounds that smart, legal alcohol consumption is much safer than the illegal binge drinking that is quite common today. My proposal tries to address this issue in a different way. Firstly, to obtain these drinking permits, an individual must be 18 years of age and have a high school diploma or GED equivalent. This is to ensure that high schoolers cannot have access to alcohol any more than they do now. This also makes sure that these individuals have had the formal education that the U.S. system requires, and that they are mature enough to be seen as adults by United States standards. Secondly, to obtain a drinking permit, individuals must enroll and pass a state-mandated course. I'd like to put emphasis on state-mandated. This means that the states have the option to control. They can make it extremely difficult if they want the drinking age to remain high. They can make it extremely easy if they want to lower drinking age. This is up to them and not up to the federal government. They also set the age that an individual becomes an adult within their state. That can also affect the drinking age. Thirdly, my proposal does not increase the number of drivers on the road. While having one of these permits, your blood alcohol concentration cannot be above 10% of what the blood alcohol concentration is allowed for someone over the age of 21. This is like 2 sips. It's nothing. It's not enough to even like make you feel a single symptom. And with that, if you are caught driving at all, and the police officer does breathalyze you and you pass over that, not only do you get a DUI, you also get your permit revoked. So you do not have the option to drink alcohol in the future. This proposal is not necessarily to decrease the amount of alcohol consumed. We've seen that obviously can't be effective. This is to teach safe drinking practices to mirror those across the country in 107 of the other 112 countries around the world that have a lower drinking age than us. This proposal is to promote smarter and safer drinking and not just to address the issue of how many people are drinking. 85% of individuals try to have drinking alcohol while they're 20 years old. So drinking is already a pretty big issue. This clearly what we have in place is not working. We need to come up with some sort of way to combat the issues that are at hand today and the problems that are arising. And lastly, with this proposal, since currently between 18 and 21, if you are drinking alcohol, if you have to go to a hospital, if you have to call your parents for a ride home, if there's anything that you need to do, knowing that this is illegal, you cannot have access to that. If you go to the hospital, you're afraid that you're going to get charged with a ticket. If you call your parents and say, hey, can you pick me up? I'm drunk. I can't drive home. And they're going to know that you've been practicing something illegal. With this proposal, this gets rid of that. This gets rid of the fear of getting in trouble for that and brings it back so we can be much more responsible as we are legal adults when we turn 18. Thank you. I yield my time to my closing statement.
Thank you, Delegate.
Oregon, thank you, Chair. Will states be responsible for funding these classes?
They are funded by it's implied that that would be funded through the enforcement that's taken out of the alcohol.
Thank you, Arthur.
Thank you.
Chris Jordan, Arizona delegation. Will this supersede the Highway Act of 19, whichever year, that says that states need to have the drinking age of 21?
In the section that this reveals, there's a section, I can't remember the specifics of the proposal. That is the section that decreases your your state's highway concentration.
Thank you, Arthur. Next question.
Jeff Litt, Michigan delegation. Will there be a limit on how many of these are given out a year?
Baker, Oklahoma. Why is the legal drinking age 21?
That's debatable.
Amanda Johnson, Michigan delegation. Yes or no? Do states with driver's ed classes have lower crash rates for young drivers?
Thank you. Next question.
Joe Melton, Commonwealth of Virginia. So just for clarification, will everybody need a permit, even those above the age of 21?
No, just those under.
Thank you, Arthur.
Timothy Lachu, President of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Thank you, Madam Chair. In the case that an 18-year-old has to go to, say, the hospital, they have to go to a public place because they might be, I guess, too drunk, are they still liable to get tickets? Are they still liable to have their permit taken away?
As long as they're not operating a motor vehicle or committing That would be kind of
Thank you.
Thank you, author.
Douglas Small, New Mexico. You state line 42, individuals who want to drink are more likely to graduate high school. Do you have studies citing these facts?
No, it's based on the incentive. Really incentive that's in place.
Gibson, Republic of Texas. Would your proposal limit the pool of applicants for drinkers permits to those who graduate high school or who possess a GED?
Yes.
Thank you.
Olivia Hesse, delegation of Maine. What content would we cover over the 6 months?
Over the 6 months, it's not a 6 month long course, but it's just a standard course that you take.
Thank you, author.
Sam Swagger, Delaware delegation. Thank you, Madam Chair. If somebody is no longer in school, will they be able to take this class by an outside organization that's willing to provide it?
If they've gotten their GED.
More technical questions. Massachusetts, Land from California, Work, Florida, Gillette, Reed, Yinks, Di Giacinto,
Priority, I am from Florida. So just to clarify, your proposal
Delegate.
says that the individual will have the option 6 months before turning 18. Can they get the permit after turning 18, like when they're 19? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. DiCicento, South delegation. Will the adjusted DUI blood content be based off of the individual state's limit?
Yes.
Becca Lamb, California. What information would be included on the drinking permit test?
On the drinking permit test, we'll talk about safe driving practices, proper emergency response procedures, the effects of rapid alcohol consumption, addiction services.
Thank you, author.
Demarais from New Jersey. Since blood alcohol content varies greatly in terms of gender, size, height, how are individuals supposed to monitor?
That's debatable.
Thank you, David Clay, Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Is the bill sponsor aware that the brain does not stop developing until the age of 25?
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Priscilla and I am from Florida. Just to clarify, these individuals will have to go to the Department of Motor Vehicles, as stated in your proposal, to get their drinking permit?
When you turn 18, you're supposed to renew your license anyway.
Thank you, author.
Andrew Reed, Washington State Delegation. Thank you, Madam Chair. Would this override the law of, say, Louisiana, where the drinking age is 18?
Sure. Yes. Yes, it would.
Allie Yinks, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Do any countries do anything like this?
Most of them have a drinking age lower than this, so they don't have.
Thank you, author. With that, the time for non-debatable technical questions.
I do not stand in favor of this proposal for several reasons. The first of these is that this proposal will only encourage people under 21 to drink. By providing them with the means to get drunk, we provide these 18 to 20-year-olds a method to lose not only their lives, but the lives of others. Being completely honest with ourselves, we all know there is a great chance that young adults will abuse this privilege. This is further backed by the fact that young adults illegally consume 11% of the nation's alcohol. Many of these young adults begin drinking as young as 14. Another negative of this proposal is the lack of regulation. Because no limits are placed on the amount of alcohol a permit user can purchase and consume, there is nothing stopping permit holders from purchasing large amounts of alcohol, taking this alcohol to parties, and providing it to all of their friends. Another downfall to this proposal is the way it limits blood alcohol content levels, BAC. Under this proposal, permit holders would not be allowed to drive with a BAC greater than 0.004, which is 10% of the national standard. This would cause problems for several reasons. The first of these is that with a BAC level of 0.004, even with a BAC as high as 0.03, which is still under the legal limit, a permit holder would exhibit absolutely no signs of intoxication, and they would only be pulled over by the off chance that the police officers thought something was odd. Furthermore, several common household products, such as mouthwash, contain alcohol. According to a study published in the Field Study in Toxicizers and Listerine Antiseptic Journal, police officers who washed their mouths with Listerine and were later tested had BAC levels of 0.01, even after waiting 10 minutes. Under this standard, there would be many false convictions. Yet another thing I implore you to consider is that just because students go through driver's education, it does not mean that they will not break the law or that they will not get into car accidents. An education and a test alone cannot ensure that one will make appropriate decisions. And when it is a teenager deciding whether or not, while being further influenced by peer pressure, he's going to operate a motor vehicle, I would rather not leave this up to chance. The irresponsibility of young drivers is further demonstrated by insurance rates. Currently, males ages 16 to 25 pay the most for insurance. Imagine if males over 18 were provided with alcohol. insurance rates would skyrocket through the roof, along with drinking. Many families would no longer be able to afford insurance for their children, and hence there would be an increase in the number of uninsured drivers, or males would not be able to drive at all. Additionally, the National Highway Safety Institute has found that by having a legal drinking age of 21, the amount of alcohol-related accidents when 18 to 21-year-olds were driving has fallen by 13%. Since the drinking age has been increased to 21, 25,000 lives have been saved. Studies have also shown that students who begin drinking when they are younger than 21 are more likely to drink later in life and abuse alcohol. I urge you, fellow delegates, to keep in mind who we are talking about. This proposal affects you and me and our friends. Do you think that given alcohol, our friends would make responsible decisions? As judges,
North Carolina. I'd just like to refute a couple arguments made by the con and intent speaker before I get into some of the points brought by the author and some of the quality behind his proposal. First, the contest, or a previous delegate rather, stated that we should have limits on these permits. Do we have limits on the number of the amount of alcohol that adults can buy? No. Adults can give alcohol to their kids. We shouldn't be able to limit that. We are just making it illegal for these individuals to buy alcohol. And so there should be no limits for these permits. Second of all, a previous delegate stated that drivers that go through education still get in wrecks. But would it not be better? It would be much, much worse if these young drivers did not go through any education. Ladies and gentlemen, this permit for drinking is just like driving education. We are giving them the means to understand what goes behind the decisions made behind alcohol. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the exact same thing as driving. Yes, people will still make mistakes who have these permits. People still make mistakes when they are driving. However, we can seriously limit the bad mistakes made by these individuals when they're drinking. Ladies and gentlemen, in a federal government study, 2 out of 5 individuals under the age of 20 have binge drank. I'll tell you what, that verb is hard. But it's more than that. This is an unsafe environment for our individuals. This is unsafe. But if we can make this more safe, it's not the little bit of alcohol that is unsafe. It is not the drinking of alcohol that is unsafe for these 18 to 20-year-olds. It is the amount of alcohol that they're consuming that harms their decision making. Now, there's been a lot of worry about the development of the brain. Let me point out that the frontal lobe and all other cognitive material ends development at age 18. From 18 to 25, the brain only develops fat and unaffectable material. Thank you so much. Thank you, Chair. I reserve my right to yield time, or any remaining time I may have, to the delegate from where are you from? Oh, thank you.
That is correct.
Okay, I have a few points to bring up here. First, the author seems to be equating drinking to driving as far as his skill set goes. This is kind of an awful thing to be instilling in the minds of young people. They're not correlated. In fact, the two should never ever be mixed. I think this goes without saying, but I want to mention it anyway. I have a logistical legal issue with this too, which is if every state can establish their own rules based on their current drinking laws, the full faith and credit law or clause of the Constitution, Article 4, may be effective here if there's a law that's different in another state, and there's loopholes in Wisconsin. It's legal to drink with parents' consent. If I have a Wisconsin license, is that term valid in Illinois? It gets messy. A third point I'd like to address is the fact that by lowering the what alcohol content that you have to be convicted of drinking while or driving while intoxicated, I'm worried that very trace amounts of alcohol that our body produces in basic metabolic functions, and metabolic functions of certain foods, even like yogurt, which contains living bacteria, may cause false positives in such a low value. The fourth point I'd like to address before I yield my time is the question of the claim that allowing high school students to drink will increase their interest in graduating. I think that people who have the highest chance of graduating are not the type of people to abuse rights and to abuse substances. And it seems like a contradiction with that. I don't have time to be delegate.
28 seconds.
Court Shire from Oklahoma. I would just like to list a few facts that the Department of Health has listed to do with alcohol in teenagers. Alcohol in teenagers tends to decrease the ability to pay attention they tend to have more difficulty with memory. In contrast with adults, tend to abuse alcohol and other substances like marijuana.
Thank you, delegate. Time has elapsed. We are now in order.
My time to
That is your right.
Ladies and gentlemen, think of the logical reasoning behind this proposal. In the 1990s and the 30s, the Roaring 20s, why did prohibition fail? Because banning alcohol, putting an appetizing label stating forbidden across it does not help educating people on making smart decisions regarding alcohol consumption. I'm fully aware of the negative effects alcohol can produce, how detrimental it can be to the youth of our society, but it is in the way we address this problem by keeping it hush-hush, by putting it under a ban blanket. We do not reduce or eliminate things like drunk driving, underage possession of a minor. We increase it. Look at the nations such as Germany and Italy, where wine and beer are permitted to be consumed by a minor. This does not mean a free-for-all for alcohol consumption. But if you compare the alcohol-related issues we have to that of Germany and Italy, you will see the difference. By putting a license to minors, educating the effects of alcohol, and lastly, taking out the cool factor, the forbidden factor of alcohol, we can become more like these countries in which alcohol consumption of minors is not a raging issue. With that, I yield the remainder of my time to the next delegate.
52 seconds.
Jeff Litt, Michigan delegation. I just want to address a few of the cons that were mentioned. One, Europe. There are countries in Europe that allow people to drink at age 16, and there are no problems. There's no problems that they actually have a lower drinking problem than us. So, and then they also, if you want to address the drinking and driving, their driving age is 18, so you learn how to drink before you drive, so then they don't have a problem with driving as well. So then, now you know that. And then high schoolers won't be able to get more drinking because you have to have a high school diploma to get this thing. So, with that, I yield the rest of the time to the chair.
Thank you, delegate.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I reserve my right to yield any remaining time to Delegate
I'm
Johnson.
sorry, you're out of order. You did not state your name in delegation.
And through Madam Chair, Dana Donabidi, Commonwealth, Massachusetts, and I reserve my right to make a motion.
That is your right.
I'd like to have a motion to have my amendment heard.
Is there an amendment on the floor? Is the amendment germane? The clerk will now read the title of the amendment.
The amendment reads, an addition to be put after the sentence in line 35. Those who possess a permit and are caught selling or giving alcohol to those who are underage will be additionally charged with another misdemeanor.
The motion.
I will repeat the amendment. An addition to be added after the sentence in line 35. Those who possess a permit and are caught selling or giving alcohol to those who are underage will be additionally charged with another misdemeanor.
The motion before this assembly is that this amendment be heard. Is there a second? Second. All those in favor of hearing this amendment or debating this amendment, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Nay. This motion does carry. Division is heard and not recognized. We will now recognize the author of the amendment for a 1-minute speech.
That can be exploited, essentially. And it's that those people with the permit are able to buy drinks and sell the drinks or give the drinks to those who are underage. And I feel that this is a big problem in America. And I feel that this additional punishment is needed to those who abuse this privilege. And this will encourage such behavior to not occur as much. I now yield the remaining.
Thank you, delegate.
I reserve my right to yield my time to.
That is out of order. You may not yield.
Okay. This amendment is perfectly fine, with one exception. There is already laws against adding to the delinquency of minors. So not only is it redundant, in my understanding, this would now add two of the same penalties for one crime, which is more or less extremely wrong. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. We will now entertain a pro speaker on this amendment. The chair recognizes Washuku.
Timothy Washuku, representing the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Thank you, Madam Chair. I am actually in support of this amendment, namely because one of the issues that we have in our society isn't the fact that we have underage drinkers. It's the fact that it's the acquisition of these products. It is because of the fact that we have legal adults that are giving these products to minors, that way they can use these products. I do realize that there are states that already have certain provisions made in these situations, but those situations aren't exactly pertinent to this proposal. By allowing this amendment to be a part of the author's proposal, it takes away the loophole, the idea of being 18 and having this permit and being able to give it to someone else who either A, has not graduated yet, or does not have this permit already. Are you ready to my
Thank you.
I'm not against this amendment. I feel that doubling penalty, you already lose your permit. You already lose your permit under the system that's in place. So it would be a misdemeanor, a second degree misdemeanor. So you would already lose your permit. I'm not against having partial penalties for minors. So I would not oppose this at all. I don't think they
Thank you.
So thank you.
Thank you, Albert. Please stand and say aye. All opposed? All opposed? This amendment does not pass. That is your right.
Nice to lay out proposals, but allowing our rambunctious teenagers recently out of high school to drink alcohol is the wrong direction for our nation. As previous delegates said, we take driver's education courses to receive our licenses in a similar fashion. How many of you drive the speed limit to stop to a complete hiccup at a stop sign and slam on the brakes when you see a yellow light? I don't see how this proposal is much different. People will always have one too many drinks, pops and shots, and overstep their alcohol yield. According to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, alcohol damages memory, judgment, decision-making, and coordination. Straight up, it makes you dumber. We only drink to get a buzz. Under the influence, a person is significantly impaired in frontal cortex function, making all of the preparations for post-classes give almost useless. More teens are killed by alcohol alone than any other drug combined, than all other drugs combined. This proposal is a slippery slope and is ridiculous to ratify. We do not need this provision.
I need to refute the claim that the European drinking laws are more efficient. The reason the European drinking laws are more efficient is because culturally they have always taught drinking before they have taught driving. You have to teach drinking. It's not something that you can sit kids in a room and show them a TV and say, hey, this is what drinking does to you. You will never fully understand the effects of alcohol until you are under the influence. Students have to learn drinking by experience. And this would not help them do that. That would only encourage the same behavior that students have had since the beginning of this drinking in America. Thank you. That your time.
I would like to repeat a couple cons that were brought up. The reason for a lot of the abuse in America is that this system is in place, that people see this as this holy grail of when you're an adult, when you're 21. People are trying to do the certain thing. When in Europe, it is something that you grow up doing. It's something that you have access to at an age when you're still around your parents, when they can show you the ropes. At 21, you're alone in college. You're not here, then you can't ask any questions. So you go off to college not having ever experienced in a legal setting, and you go off and the only way you know is illegal, and that carries on in the future, so that you're more likely to be an addict in the future. If you're taught when your parents are still around, then you certainly aren't as likely to be in a bad situation. A couple stats about what it's like in Europe. This is Scottish relative to American. The percent of alcohol consumed is actually less by 3%. Received lower grades in school is down by 17%. Damaged property down by 5%. Drunk driving down by 33%. Drinking while driving down by 40%. And DWIs are down by 19.7%. So clearly they're doing something right over there. And I think a lot of it has to do with the education they're having, and not just at home, but they're still being allowed to drink at an early age before they turn 21. They're all on their own and given these unlimited rights that we were just talking about. Like it was brought up that when you turn 21, or when you turn 18, you would be given unlimited drinking rights. That's how it is when you're 21. We're just teaching you, doing a system where you are still around your parents, and you can still take an education system that's required by the states. Both the reason that I made the comparison between alcohol permits and driving permits is because both of them, if used incorrectly, can be extremely harmful and be a big thing to put your life on the line. And for that reason, there are extra precautions that are taken and extra educational requirements that should be in place to teach people how to use this effectively. In Europe, death stats, a lot of the death stats that were brought up based on the number of deaths that were caused and happened prevented since then are based a lot on the new safety standards that have been put in the cars. So that statistic was overblown by major amount relative to the statistic I found. Alcohol isn't hard to obtain. If you've ever been to a college campus and seen a college party, you know that that's not the issue. That students are having the issues getting alcohol. That's not the main thing we're trying to address. We're trying to teach them how to be responsible and safe and have fun. Thank you. I don't know that.
Thank you, Delegate. The question before this assembly is whether or not this proposal will pass. All those in favor, please stand and